Hello everyone, Zelleranth here, and like most people, I have arrived at level 50 in the last couple days, and at this point it's starting to become easier and easier for most people to finish the last stages of the weapon trials. Just yesterday I'd completed weapon trial 1 level 65. Won't let me actually look at it here today since it's locked on Tuesdays, but on weapon trial 2 I do plan to complete stage 9 and 10 today. Now, one big thing that changes with Stage 10 is it only drops epics and legendary gear, and both the epic and legendary show as being frequent. What it basically means is you have a good chance of actually getting legendaries in them to drop. In the Trial 1, for example, when I did my rerun on it, I actually got 3 legendaries in one run. And I've seen others who have done it as well, and it seems that you can reliably get legendaries once you reach the final stage and you are farming it on a daily basis. So what that means is that you're going to start to get a large abundance of weapons. And the one thing that we're actually hurting on, which there's no reliable way to really farm them in any capacity in that way, we do get some from like Clash and Cornucopia and other forms of events. But other than that, there's not a specific stamina-based event that's reoccurring like the weapon trial to get trinkets. But one thing that I haven't really seen mentioned by any other people on this aspect would be that there is actually a way to recycle your weapons to farm trinkets. Now, it takes quite a few legendaries to get one, but if you actually go into the shop and on the redeem page, most people have kind of skipped over the gear page because they're not accumulating this currency up here. This radiant crystal nucleus, which is used to buy either a random legendary trinket or a random legendary gear. Most people at this point should probably have 1,000 because the battle pass, even for free to play, gives 500 at the very beginning of it. So on the battle pass at... oh yeah, I'm a lot farther up on the battle pass than most people at this point because they had some kind of bug when this new one came out, and then they just gave a free 10 levels to most people. And I had bought the one pass that gave the items, so that boosted me up a 10 as well. So it's on level 5, which a lot of people probably have arrived at this point. It drops 500 of them. Now that's not the only way that you get them. The other way that you can get the currency for pulling here would be through recycling your weapons. Or even trinkets. Although since trinkets are rare, I would not actually recycle any trinkets. At least not at this point. And so what you do for that is you can go to your gear, you can go look at all your legendaries, and how recycling works is you'll just take a weapon, and I'm not actually going to recycle, I don't want to recycle anything at this point. But you just take the item, and down here it has an option that says breakdown, and then you just click that. It'll show all the weapons that you can break down, and I only have one legendary that's not locked. So it won't actually show any of your legendaries as you get them here. You'll have to unlock them. Same way you have to unlock them if you want to enhance them and add stars. And so once you unlock them, you can come here and you'll see the legendaries. So you can select them. And you can see each legendary that you break down is worth 150 of those crystals. Now, if you look at... Now, I'm not going to actually break it down, but... and epics give you a different currency, so this currency doesn't apply to getting the legendaries in the shop. It's only when you break down legendaries. Now, you get 150 per legendary when you break them down. When you go into the shop, you go to redeem, and you go to gear here. It wants 1,500 if you want random legendary gear, or 2,000 for a random legendary trinket. So if you think about it, if you break down 10 legendaries, you can do a roll for a random legendary gear. And if you get up to 2,000, so that's an additional 4 on there, so you'll need to do an addition. So you have to do 14 on average to pull a legendary trinket. So what you can do is you can utilize the trials and all the weapons you get, because eventually you'll be so flush full of legendaries from farming the weapon trials here on a daily basis. You'll be getting so many that that you have more than you'll ever need. I'd say probably having 2 copies of each weapon at 5 stars is pretty good. That way you can maybe switch up the engravings. Now on the top tier weapons, and we'll kind of look at a tier list here in a second, but on the top tier weapons, I may not want to recycle any of them, but some of the lesser well-known ones, or the ones that are lesser used by units, you want to just break them down, especially when you go past 5, when you have 2 sets of 5. And so over time, kind of looking at it from a mathematical standpoint, if you get on average one legendary a day, then you can pull 2 of these and 1 of these in a month. And that's only if you got 1 legendary. On average, it seems like I get 3 drops per run. And if it's an actual 50-50, which it appears to be between getting an epic versus a legendary, you should on average get about 1.5 legendaries a day. And so in doing so, you can pretty much always get the 2 trinkets a month right here. But then also you can take a chance and go over a trinket in this one. And this one doesn't have a limit. You can only do 2 of these per month on the random legendary trinket. But pretty much all trinkets are good, at least in the aspect that we don't get enough of them, that you definitely want to always pull these first. But then, after you get those, if you have any remaining currency, you can always keep pulling on this. Now this one is a random legendary gear, so you can get a weapon or a trinket. But this one can be infinitely farmed to try and get more trinkets, especially in this beginning of the game where we're all hurting pretty badly on trinkets versus weapons. And some ways that you can also make your decision on whether or not you want to get multiple 5 stars of specific weapons before you start breaking them down. You can actually, I've seen a guide that went to Reddit. Let me get it pulled up here. So there's a guide made by this guy. He's another YouTuber, Dogauto, that has a breakdown from the tier lists for all the weapons on the CN tier list and what the best weapons for each user are. I'm not going to completely go in depth on any of this, as he actually does a pretty good job in his own YouTube video that he lists down at the bottom of the Reddit post. So if you actually want to get the full breakdown of why every weapon is specifically good for each unit on this list, you can go ahead and watch his video. The one thing that I wanted to kind of take a quick look though is, for those of us like myself who get the battle pass and there is the cornucopia weapon, I've seen people that ask, well, which one's the best one to get? And if you take just a quick look at this tier list, there's only 1 person that has it as one of their weapons. Oh no, there's 2 people that have a weapon that's from that, and only 1 person that has it as their best in slot, and that'll be the staff. And it's like in my previous video I had mentioned, when I talked a lot about Akambe, his best in slot weapon is the cornucopia staff. But then you also have Karis, who I haven't looked too much in depth into her kit. From my understand, she's a heavy, she uses a lot of energy, and she's a big AoE mage. But the cornucopia staff helps with RNG management, or NRG management, as she uses a lot of energy just like Akambe. So if you are getting the battle pass, my suggestion would be to get the staff, just because it's probably the only one that I've seen, and I haven't seen anyone else state any of the other ones have any specific long-term value, because that's the key thing with these battle pass weapons. In order to get 5 stars of this weapon, you're going to have to get the battle pass 5 times, so it's going to take you 5 months just to max out one of them. And that was kind of the thing I said with Akambe, why he can be kind of a pay-to-win unit, because he wants the battle pass weapon at 5 stars, he wants 3 stars at least, and then he wants a lot of units that come back to back. So he wants Sophia, he wants Cocoa, so he wants a lot of units that are going to come back to back to back. So you're going to almost certainly have to pay if you really want to build a team around him. But the cornucopia staff is absolutely the best choice on the battle pass. And I would not ever recycle any of the battle pass weapons. Man, that should be common sense on that one. But and then there's the other thing I did see on this list that we don't currently have access to, but when we start getting to the units that have signature weapons, this guide actually shows the current signature weapons in CN, and you can kind of see how absolutely broken some of these weapons can be, and how they actually work. So it looks like they go into a banner where it has this one on the picture at least shows 3 of them. So there is already now, you have a 33% chance of getting it. It doesn't actually say here if there's a 50-50 of getting a normal standard weapon versus getting one of the signatures, but it does show 3 on the banner. And so they will be pay to win to a certain extent, but you can get 2 of them a month on average in the content in the future, and then eventually they do get thrown into the standard pool of the normal banner. So these are just some weapons to look at for in the future as well. You can use this when you're thinking about saving pulls, especially if you're going to be a big fan. Like, I know a lot of people want the alternate version of Raw Yacht, which is an absolute beast from what I've seen in videos. Does a lot of AoE damage. But then I've even seen some of these weapons will work on our current units really well. Like Simona, for example, I just got big into having high shields. This Shield of Justice looks like it would be absolutely broken on Simona, because this one gives another... when you have a shield, so Simona will always have a shield, especially when you get her up to 3 stars, which she'll recycle her shield every turn. So when you have a shield, you get an automatic attack and defense increase of 12%. And at the start of her turn, she would gain a physical shield with a value of 120% physical defense. Now that happens every 3 turns, but that looks like that will stack alongside Simona's own personal shield she creates. So you can start automatically with an absolutely massive shield on Simona if this works the way it looks. And then you have like other ones. This was a unit in my previous video, Tristan, that I showed, where she was in that comp with a combe. Did pretty insane damage. I don't completely know her kit, but it looks like she could work similar to Alexi, where she is in a low health state. And when she's in a low health state, she gets significantly increased to her damage. So she may be a similar unit where it gets knocked down easily into the dying state and can do a significant amount of damage in that. And so just kind of thinking of some ideas if you want to potentially save for one of these units in the future, that you also may want to save for their weapons. Because their weapons on many of the tier lists I've seen do not take into consideration their signature weapons. Other than that, the rest of this stuff kind of is just of your typical weapons, like you have the Prism Cube for your healers and that. But I don't want to go too far in depth in that. As I said, the original creator here already made a video, broke down everything, does a really good job explaining all of this tier list. And I'll go ahead and link that in this description once I post this video. But other than that, I just wanted to kind of go over the weapons and trinkets, and I know many people that I've seen saying that they are hurting for trinkets, but there is an avenue for getting them through the shop. And to me, this looks to be the main way you get trinkets in excess of the current events in Tower and that. So I think they fully expect us to be recycling weapons in order to trade them in for the risk to try and get random trinkets in this slot. I'm just kind of have to see as the game proceeds. But overall, I think in a month or so, once we all have beaten the final trials of the weapon trials, everybody's going to start swimming in the weapons and have a lot that they have no use for. And that's pretty much the avenue of what you want to do with them. Just because they're legendary doesn't mean you should be afraid to break them down. And that's just my thoughts on weapons and trinkets going into the endgame and how we can slowly accumulate more trinkets to build up our teams. Thanks for watching.